Howdy, soldiers. Oh my god, it's Valentine's Day. I truly kind of forgot about it. Like, not forgot, because like my girlfriend and I did like make plans and plan some stuff ahead of time. But January didn't exist, and suddenly it's like mid-February, and I don't know what to do with myself, or where I am, or what I'm doing. So happy Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Gay, happy Galentine's Day. However you are celebrating this Hallmark holiday of love, I hope you are enjoying it. But every book blogger and their mother and their cousin and their mother's cousin is doing some kind of best romantic books, favorite spicy books, favorite book boyfriends and book girlfriends and stuff. And I mean, hey, I'm no stranger to that. You can check out last year's videos. So for this Valentine's Day special, I'm turning it around, and instead of talking about books that I think that you would love, we're gonna make this about me. Today I want to talk about some books that I love to love. These are books that I love, but they're also books that I love the fact that I love. Does that make sense? Because there are books that I've read and liked that I look back on like, oh, I'm so glad I enjoyed my literary experience. And yet there are also some books that I read and I'm like, I'm so happy on like a physical, emotional, spiritual, astral level that I enjoyed this book. And I'm not just talking about like rom-coms specifically. I'm talking about books that have romance, that have intimacy, that have friendship, that have family dynamics. Just books about love that I love to love. Wholesome to hot, friends to better friends. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and buckle in. Join me for the Valentine's Day special of 2025. We're going to talk about a whole lot of books that I love to love. Oh god, Donna Summers is coming out. We better get this started. First up is Threefold, because I want to talk about how I have fallen in love with cozy fantasies. This makes me so happy because that seems like something that I would like. And the first couple times I tried one out, I was like, I don't know, but like I really want to like it. And I thankfully have found books that I love to love. So I want to talk about these three: This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher, Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne, and Dreadful by Caitlyn Rozakis. I'm sure many people know about Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. This is a queer coffee shop romance about two lesbians who run away to the edge of the world and start up a cafe, but then also, oh, there's dragons and like some political intrigue. Community from the mountain town of Tawny, and this beautiful found family from everybody who visits the cafe and the bookstore. And there's some adorable pet dynamics with their pet griffins, which they ride also. Like, can I get a pet griffin? I can ride a horse. How different is it? Actually, what? No. Last weekend, my girlfriend and I went tubing on the top of a mountain, and I realized in that moment, as we were speeding down the mountain at like 70 miles per hour, and it was cold and there was wind chill, that I would be a terrible dragon rider because I don't like dropping sensations and my ears were very cold. And I love to love Keith and Rena's relationship. The way that they problem solve and talk through their feelings is so healthy and realistic, and like a very good example of what a relationship should look like in terms of compromise and support. The intimacy and trust that they show one another is really special, and it really shows that they like each other. Like, there are so many romance books where I'm like, yeah, okay, the two of you are hot, but like, why do you like them? Like, do you play Xbox or something? Like, you need something to bond over. And what better to bond over than a dragon egg stealing mystery? And one of my wildcard reads of last year was This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher, which is all about a group of washed up chosen ones. It's the Princess Bride meets people we meet on vacation about a group of ex-chosen ones who haven't spoken since they saved the world a decade ago and are coming together for a friend's wedding, only to discover that the forces of evil are back at it again and they have to go save the realm a second time. We are dusting off old weapons and old flames and old grudges as all of them have to discover a way to work together again, missing one of their cadre, and also learning to like retrust one another and face the trauma that they all went through together. I love to love this book because it's so fun. And like, exactly this. Okay, no false advertising on this product. E.B. Asher is a pen name for three authors. There's Austin Sigmund Broca, Emily Wibberley, and Bridget Morrissey. And this book really does feel like they were all playing a D&D campaign that got way out of hand. We get second chance romance. We get a queer story. We get a reintroduction of found family. We get friendship dynamics and like the bonding that traumatic events will give you. It's silly, but it's clever, and it has a fantastic foundation of love and trust and support and just like loving your friends so much. And the sun comes out again. Oh my god, the lighting in this video is gonna be awful. And then a book that makes my theater kid heart very happy is Dreadful by Caitlyn Rozakis, which follows Gav, who wakes up in this dark wizard's castle with no memory of who he is or how he got there, only to discover that he is the Dreadlord wizard that everyone is afraid of, and he was apparently in the middle of this magical ritual. Now he has to fake it till he makes it, but also is kind of like reinventing himself as a person. Though we do get some friendship and found family aspects of this, this is mostly a book about self-love and like self-actualization and how a previous villain is changing for the better. He's confronting himself and the actions that he's taken in the past to hurt people and how he has to learn to take accountability for that. This story is very fun and funny. We are befriending the goblin staff and doing a 180 on that princess that we have locked in our basement, all while waxing poetic about like, oh god, there's so much red velvet in here. It's so tacky. Why did I decorate with all these skulls? As somebody who also decorates their home with bones and skulls, this man lives in a castle decorated by Spirit Halloween, and I respect it. I both love this book and love to love this book because it is so heartwarming over a very solid core of self-respect and taking accountability for your actions, but always working to make yourself a better person. Next up is a gothic fantasy duology that I have to put in here because I can't stop thinking about it. If you watch my January wrap-up, you will have seen that I finished Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, which is the sequel to One Dark Window, the Shepherd King duology, and oh my god, I freaking love these books. Like, does this duology have a daughter named Stacy? Because she's got it going on. I love to love these for a variety of reasons. Number one is that I've curated myself a nice little niche on the internet, and everybody else in that niche was yelling at me to read this book for so long that I finally caved and did, and then it was like, oh my god, I love this. Who could have guessed? Wait a second. Are you two different heights? Oh, that is infestiminal, but it is still there. Orbit, how dare you? I take back my previous statement. But for real though, I'm just so happy that something that a lot of people said that I would like, I ended up really, really liking, because it's that stubborn thing of like, oh, you say I'm gonna like that? I'm not gonna like it then. The Kingdom of Blunder is surrounded by this dark creeping mist, and there are 12 Providence cards that hold magic in this world. And if you have a Providence card, you can use its magic. Our main character Elspeth has a nightmare living in her head, and when she goes to court, she accidentally gets herself embroiled in like a coup against the king as she befriends one of the sons, and then stuff, all hell breaks loose. It's twisty and misty and dark and romantic. I love all of our side characters. The tarot magic in this is so cool, and the rhyming of their magic is very unsettling. So we have multiple love stories in here. It is ultimately a story about how love can be twisted into hatred and the consequences of somebody who has the power to love and to hate. I love to love this because our characters are so nuanced and very well developed. The ending is incredibly satisfying. So if you haven't given these a shot yet, I would highly recommend them. Now that we just talked about a new love of my life, let me talk about an original. Oh, ow. Oh, this is a stack, which is kind of hard to pick up while also holding a microphone. One of the first series I ever fell head over heels for was the Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. I'm gonna put two of these back and just hold up one of them because holding up all three at one time with also holding a mic is quite cumbersome. I mean, come on! The steampunk edition of the Shadowhunters universe, I'm sure was many of ours first loves. The story of Jem and Will and Tessa as they fight clockwork contraptions and the magic of their world, and the best love triangle in any book I've ever read. And I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. The Shadowhunters universe was one of the first fandoms that I ever really fell in love with and found community in, because as a redhead, you know, I am Clary reborn. I was once at a book event where I met Cassandra Clare, and she said that I look like how Clary looks in her head. So there, author confirmed. That's my claim to fame. I will be available for autographs after the show. The connection that Jem and Will have is so beautiful to read. They have this deep found family love, comes from choosing somebody to be part of your family. It makes them vulnerable and selfless because they want the other person that they love the most in their life to be the happiest they can be. And on the other end of Tessa loving both Will and Jem differently, but no less strongly, we can see the different ways that people connect. And I love to love this because I find it so beautiful. And just now I'm realizing maybe this is where I get my love of pathetic men from. Speaking of pathetic men, because I am of the bisexual variety, I suppose I should also talk about some pathetic women. Complimentary. Another book I read last year that made a heartfelt impression on me is the sapphic vampire historical romance that was A Long Time Dead by Samara Breger. We get a sexy, scary, wholesome, and heartwarming story about lesbian vampires in the 1800s. Our main character, Poppy, is a sex worker on the streets of London who one night wakes up as a vampire with no memory of how she was turned, and slowly falls into a relationship with Roisin, who is the vampire that staged to care for her, and as the two of them grow closer and Poppy ages into becoming a vampire, we discover discuss loss and life and death and undeath and love across the ages, and also unravel some of the mysteries as to how Poppy got turned into a vampire in the first place. This is one of the most beautiful books about sapphic love and queer love that I have ever read. Poppy is a sex worker and she loves her job. She loves making people feel good and special and cared for, and Roisin is so prickly and standoffish and kind of broken down because this does have a undercurrent of toxic relationships and previous domestic abuse and healing from that, especially healing from that in a new relationship. But the way that both of them challenge one another and yet are so reverent towards the other as well. And every part of everything I am wants to rest with you. Of course I am starving. Of course I am sick. Yes, I changed you, and my punishment is that you changed me too. You've remade me, every cell, every atom. I am ruined. And wow, yes, I love this book because of its quirky historical shenanigans and its fun found family of vampires and its sex-positive sexy scenes and its deep existentialism on being mortal and immortal. Something about the way that this is written and the two main characters are written together makes it feel just quiet and soft. God, there's so much lip gloss on this cup. Shall we continue talking about another romance novel? I mean, I guess we should, right? It's Valentine's Day. I'm contractually obligated to do something about love and romance. I want to talk about another vampire romance novel, this time with a male love interest and some of the sickest vampire lore that I have ever read. And that book is A Duel with the Vampire Lord by Elise Kova. This is part of her Married to Magic series, and it is the best one. There is no argument, but this is still the hill that I will die on. Our main character, Florine, is a blacksmith who lives in this small town on the edge of vampire country. On the night of the full moon, she goes to the vampire castle stronghold and decides to kill the vampire king. But of course, when she's there and she finds him, it turns out that he is not the king after all, and that there are a bunch of vampires that are like frozen in time because of this disease that was turning them into monsters. So they all went into like this stasis mode, and every 100 years before the next group that was awoken turns into monsters, they awake the next group, and then they have to like try and solve the curse. So she teams up with the new lord of the castle and what's left of his court that are awake, and they travel into the decrepit section of the castle to find like alchemy documents in hopes of stopping this curse, and it gets like real Resident Evil. It's sick as fuck. The lore is amazing. The main character is super capable. The stakes have never been higher, pun intended. Now, I like the Married to Magic series. They're a series of interconnected standalones that are very romantic fantasy romance. And considering that I liked two of them and DNF'd another one, I was so upset with myself because I was like, I want to like this series so much. You know, when you go into something and you're like, I'm gonna like this whether I like it or not. This is the first one that I felt I really connected with. Like, oh, thank God. Oh my God, this one is so damn cool. I love to love this, not only because this world is incredible, this magic lore is incredible, and yet also has such a beautiful romance storyline that's not over the top and yet is realistic for these characters in their very bizarre situation. I really love Reuven. His ideas of like duty and responsibility are very important to him, so it's like this whole like love for his court and love for his people that juxtaposes Florine's love of her people and her family, and I love the way that they have it to come to work together to solve that problem, and they kind of fall in love with each other while doing that because they're falling in love with the other person's heart. Second coffee. That's the good shit right there. I thought I could get through the video without a coffee, but I'm weak. Another full series that I love to love is a series that I think does what a lot of other series want to do, but like they take inspiration. This book is the inspiration. And maybe this is me just being 29 and out of touch, but I swear that I don't see this book talked about as much as it should be for how good it is. And that is the Defy the Night series by Bridget Kimmerer. Defy the Night, Destroy the Day, and Defend the Dawn are very heavy. Once again, I'm gonna leave those there. A YA fantasy Robin Hood retelling that follows two thieves, Tessa and West, as the two of them are stealing medicine to give to the people of this kingdom that is under a plague. We also follow the young king and his brother as the two of them had to ascend to the throne very early in the midst of political turmoil. So not only are we stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, but we are discussing privilege. We are breaking down prejudice. We are talking about hierarchy and class dynamics, fighting conspiracies against the crown, talking about the duty of reigning, and falling in love in so many different ways. Tessa is a healer. She runs an apothecary, and when she loves something and someone, like her people or maybe Wes, or maybe someone else, she puts her whole heart and soul into it. In King Harristan, we Harristan, and I know I've made that joke so many times, but it still stands as being a good one. Bridget Kimmerer is so good at writing nuanced, realistic, sympathetic male characters. Harristan and Korik, their brotherly love and yet their brotherly tension is so well-paced and so tension-filled. Duty and reigning and responsibility and trying your hardest and it not being enough. Knowing that you want to love someone, but your circumstances won't allow for it, and the guilt and shame that comes with that, but then also the hope and the resolve to make that change. As we see in Defend the Dawn, sometimes almost losing something makes you realize how important it is to you. And as we see in Destroy the Day. Love can come from unexpected places, and it really is about allowing yourself to be loved. John Green really popped off when he said we accept the love we think we deserve, because this series is a prime example of that. And I love to love this series so much because, first of all, I mean, she's beautiful. These characters are complicated and they're messy and they fight and they make mistakes and they deal with the consequences of their actions. I just feel like they're so much more real than a lot of other YA protagonists. The story of Korik and Heristad and Tessa is so wonderful. I cried like the little bitch that I am at the end of Destroy the Day. Sorry, look, words are hard. This series was great, and I will not be persuaded, wheeled, coerced, or threatened into thinking otherwise. A contemporary romance that does a similar thing of being the reference instead of referencing the reference is a book that I feel like I don't talk very much about, which is, wow, oh, my Canadian really just came out there. It's not a book I get the chance to talk about very often, and yet I love it so much. And like, why? I don't know. I guess we'll get into it. I'm talking about the steamy, nerdy, romantic comedy that is Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon, where a ghostwriter and a struggling actor have a one-night stand only to find out the next day that they're going to be working together on this actor's new memoir. But once they have more than one night to talk, they reveal that last night was actually pretty awkward, and since they're going to be spending a lot of time together professionally and maybe non-professionally, Finn says that he will give Chandler all the juicy details for this book, and she will tutor him in the art of seduction. So many things I love wrapped into one convenient package. We get the Hollywood romance, we get the behind the scenes of the movie industry rom-com, we get writing and ghostwriting, and then we also get like nerdy stuff like fan conventions. We get very sexy times where we communicate beautifully and get awesome consent and like talk about what we like in different things, but then also we get these adorable little scenes that are just so freaking cute. These two characters have great chemistry, again, as friends and also as lovers, especially considering the amount of edgy, dark romances that are out there these days. I'm so happy to say that like these two have an open line of communication the entire way through their relationship. They have like a healthy dynamic around sex, and it's so refreshing. Finn, our actor, is such a lovely character. He's so sweet and like very nerdy, and he like really loves his fans. He also has OCD, and that is a large part of his character in this. And I love seeing mental health representation in men in romance novels. It's fun, it's sweet, it's spicy. If you ever had a crush on an actor from a CW show, you are definitely gonna like this book too. I love to love this book because not only is it funny and sweet, but it has such an honest and open dialogue around sex and sexuality, as well as that lovely community, warm, fuzzy feeling of being in fandom. And it shows that romantic gestures do not have to be big and overwhelming. They can be just standing next to someone to show support. Second to last is probably the weirdest book on this list. And like, I love me a weird book. I almost put The Starless Sea on here because Starless Sea. Sorry, I'm very off-center today. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern is one of my favorite books. I literally have a tattoo of it, and it is very, very bizarre, and that's why I love it. However, I understand when people don't like it because it's like a fever dream dipped in honey. I'm not necessarily mad when I hear that someone doesn't like it, and they're like, it makes no sense, because I'm like, valid. I also don't know what's going on. But this story is one that I would hoist a sword for, and that is Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. Oh, you thought I was kidding. Tell me you were a weird queer theater kid without telling me that you were a weird queer theater kid. This is a beautiful, whimsically macabre magic realism story that focuses on Jewish folklore, where two estranged siblings reunite after many years away as they find out about an inheritance, and that inheritance turns out to be a sentient house on chicken legs named Thistlefoot. As the three of them embark on a cross-country theater tour, they are stalked by a mysterious villain, and they have to find out what he's there for and the original history of the house. It is a beautiful, lyrical modern fantasy that pays homage to theater and acting and puppetry, while also going into passing down of generational trauma. Through magic and memory, we see into the lives of many Jewish immigrants that came to America hoping for a better life, and the love and the ghosts that came with them. And y'all done me, not only am I an obnoxious ex-theater kid, but I'm also somebody who loves a sentient house, and so we get both of that in droves. We get the behind the scenes of stagecraft and theater and the wonder and awe that you get seeing a show being put on. And like, that's why I love theater. Valentine and Isaac use their own unique magic to bring something to life. I love the house so much because it has memory and it has magic. And so learning its personality and learning its fears and what that represents as the Jewish community, as somebody who has endured. I love to love this book because it gives me that same joyful, excited, hopeful feeling of opening night, while also forcing you to see the hardships that you've endured so that you can have that joy. Plus this writing, oh my god, this can generate Generous Nethercott write my obituary? Why did that come to mind? And last, but certainly not least, is another series. I should have planned this better. Okay, up you go. Admittedly, it's been a little while since I have read this series, but it made such an impression on me, and I love that I love this so much. And truly, I think the first book, there is a scene in there that I can almost word for word quote because it made such an impression on me in such an impressionable moment of my life. But considering that Air just came out, I've seen more people rediscovering that, and that is An Ember in the Ashes saga by Sapati here. I know I have like 4 different editions. This series is crazy. I don't want to hear it. Just as the Infernal Devices was a YA series where many of us learned how to love for the first time, I'm sure An Ember in the Ashes was one of the first times that we all got collective trauma. A YA fantasy series based on Middle Eastern folklore and Roman Empire military tactics, where the best soldier of a military academy and the granddaughter of a rebel leader meet, and the choices that they make will lead to a new fate for the Empire. Now, this is a love story between Laia and Elias, and like, we do love them together. But it is truly Elias and his second in command, Helene, that I love more than anybody else in this book. Again, we have so many types of love that are eking their existence out in this very harsh militaristic world. We have the loyalty and the trust of the rebellion, and then we also have the blood bond that is forged between warriors on the battlefield, opening oneself up to love and risking it all and dealing with those consequences. But especially in Elias and Helene's storylines, realizing that you are worthy of love and that you are worthy of more than just what people have made you out to be. Just like in Thistlefoot, we talk about not being able to connect with your culture any longer, outlawing literature about it, not being able to practice your religion. This whole series really asks what length you will go to protect those that you love. And it's so much trauma. Oh my god. So many people die. We get so many weird double crosses. We get so many hopeless, horrific scenes. And yet that's what makes the payoff so damn good. And I love to love this series because it does, like what I like in Defy the Night, it sets up the groundwork. It gives you the pillars. It pours the foundation. Something architectural metaphor. I know this series is lauded as being like one of the best YA series of all time. I would highly agree, and I love to love the fact that I also think that way. And that is that on that. All right, hold on. I need a fresh lip for a fresher outro. There's my obligatory Valentine's Day post. How was that for you? It was good for me. So there we have it. There are a bunch of books that I love and that I also love to love. If you let me, I would yell about books, the concept, books, TM, all day, every day. And as a book blogger, I feel like sometimes, people in my community, myself included, we lose the plot a little, no pun intended, because we're trying to keep up to date on publishing trends. We're trying to read as much as we possibly can to be able to get content out. And sometimes I have to slow down and remind myself why I like those things. I love reading stories with love. I love seeing a romantic couple that would do anything for each other. I love seeing a reluctant found family brought together by circumstance and falling in love with all of their idiosyncrasies. I love watching 2 friends bond so deeply over something and that they would go to the ends of the earth for that one person. And mostly, I love that I have found stories that evoke those feelings in me and just wow, the power of the written word. And so because of this, I would love to hear some books that you love to love. So make sure to leave them in the comments. Oh my god, do I still have paint under my nails? I recently painted my apartment and I had to do touch-ups this week because I got a gallon of paint and it was so streaky and patchy that I had to go over every wall 3 times. So I ran out of paint with half of a wall left. And so just this morning, I finally repainted that one wall. I'm going to be peeling paint out from under my nails for the next 2 weeks, I swear to God. I've also had more caffeine than solid food today, and I should probably remedy that before I go to my evening 2-hour dance class. You know where to click to like the video. You know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are. Happy Valentine's Day if you are celebrating, and I will see you all next week. Bye!